Tonight, a fiery and ominous march in northeastern BC. The looming threat as thousands flee.
The next 48 hours will be a challenging situation.
And the new air quality warnings nationwide. The once loyal lawyer turned star witness for the prosecution.
You plan on telling the truth?
Michael Cohen's bombshell testimony in Donald Trump's criminal trial. Also, trucker on trial.
They were being tortured with sleep deprivation that you thought was hilarious.
An accused organizer behind the Ottawa COVID protests gets his day in court. Plus, good news and the caveat in the fight against cancer. And the night the Northern Lights came south.
The sky was pulsing with red color and green color.
The photographers who documented the heavenly and historic display.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, everyone. Raging flames are creeping dangerously closer to the BC community of Fort Nelson and a nearby First Nations reserve tonight, where nearly 5,000 people have been ordered to evacuate as crews battle what they are calling extreme fire behavior. That fire is one of about 140 currently burning, mostly in Western Canada, roughly 40 of them out of control. We'll have more on the air quality warnings in just a moment, but we begin with CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver on the fire threat.
Western wildfires are growing more ferocious, and wildfire season has barely begun.
For those people who don't leave, there's not going to be anybody to really come and help you if your house catches on fire, your yard catches on fire.
The community of Fort Nelson, British Columbia.
Not a soul.
More than 4,700 people ordered to leave due to the approaching Parker Lake fire.
People's livelihoods are being destroyed right now, and it's quite bad.
That wildfire has already engulfed more than 5,000 hectares of land, and officials say conditions could soon make the fight even harder.
The next 48 hours will be a challenging situation for the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, given forecasted ongoing westerly winds and extremely dry and volatile fuels in the area.
A similar situation playing out in Alberta, where some residents of Fort McMurray fear a repeat of the devastating 2016 fires.
We're a little bit more prepared. The bucket that I have that's got like the sentimental items, so that's still in the back of our truck. So just keep it there until it's time.
For now, officials say weather is cooperating and the fire remains 16 kilometers away, far enough that Fort Mac isn't in immediate danger.
Would prefer it to be much further away, but we're confident that we're going to be able to prevent it from getting any closer to the community.
And though some fire departments like Halifax's have new technologies, including artificial intelligence, to help in the fight, most are using aging equipment that inflation is making harder to upgrade.
It seems to be hitting us in emergency services that much harder. The equipment is costlier, takes longer to get, and quite frankly, it's just not here in time in many cases. So our frontline men and women are using equipment that is not ideal.
Manitoba is also battling an out-of-control wildfire near Cranberry Portage. Luckily, officials there say for now it's not growing, and more firefighters from other provinces, Omar, are on their way to help.
All right, Annie, thank you. And for more on how far the smoke is spreading and air quality concerns, let's bring in CTV News meteorologist Kelsey McEwen. So, Kelsey, what exactly are you seeing here?
Well, Omar, right around the fires, we'll see the highest concentration of smoke, but due to the upper level winds, this is going to travel right across the country. Now, when we zoom out, you can really get a picture for where we will see reduced air quality. Obviously, in the northern prairies, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Northwest Territories, but the effects of the smoke diving southward through the United States, through the Dakotas, and then back up through the lower Great Lakes. Through Tuesday, it will be areas east of Georgian Bay. So this is into the Muskoka region, towards Ottawa, north of that, Gatineau, Montreal, up towards Quebec City, possibly seeing that haze, perhaps high level filtering the sun, might have a reddish tinge to it. That'll be the case right throughout the day on Tuesday. Then back to the prairies through Wednesday. It's very likely areas in southern Saskatchewan and Manitoba will see a return to reduced air quality. Now, this all has to do with those upper level winds. The green line on this map here, our mid-latitude jet stream, that shows us that east to west flow from the prairies right eastward across Canada. Now, through the day today, a number of areas under those air quality advisories from BC all the way eastward into Quebec. Omar?
A significant portion of the country. All right, Kelsey, thank you. The prosecution's star witness in Donald Trump's historic criminal trial testified today. The former president's fixer turned foe told the court he was worried about the 2016 campaign, not his marriage, when a porn star came forward with allegations. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin has the details.
Michael Cohen may be a convicted felon, but as Donald Trump's former fixer, he testified he's telling the truth about his old boss. Cohen went over the catch and kill deals set up with National Enquirer publisher David Pecker to buy and bury stories damaging to Trump. The jury heard a secret recording Cohen made of Trump and him discussing hush money that Pecker paid to Playboy playmate Karen McDougal.
When it comes time for the financing, which will be...
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So.
Cohen testified after the bombshell Access Hollywood tape came out in 2016, where Trump bragged about groping women.
Hey, when you're a star, they let you do it.
Cohen testified it was quite damaging to the campaign. And when Stormy Daniels threatened to go public about an alleged sexual encounter with Trump just days before the election, Cohen testified it was catastrophic. This was horrible for the campaign. Trump was already polling poorly, with women fearing the impact on voters. Cohen testified Trump directed him to take care of it, just take care of it. And that Trump told him, quote, "Women are going to hate me. Guys will think it's cool, but this is going to be a disaster for the campaign." During the fallout over Stormy, Cohen raised Melania to Trump, and that Trump said, "Don't worry. How long do you think I'll be on the market for? Not long." Cohen says Trump wasn't thinking about his wife, Melania. This was all about the campaign. Cohen testified he paid Stormy Daniels out of his own pocket, reimbursed with checks signed by Trump, who's accused of falsifying them as a legal business expense to cover it up. Under a gag order not to attack witnesses, Trump left court in a rage.
There's no fraud here. There's no crime here. This is 4 weeks of keeping me from not campaigning.
Cohen, who once said he'd take a bullet for his former boss, is key to the case against Trump. He'll return to the stand, and after that, it's the defense's turn in a cross-examination that's expected to be brutal, Omar.
All right, Joy, thank you. The Israeli military renewed its attacks on northern Gaza today in areas where it previously claimed to have dismantled Hamas's infrastructure, raising questions over the country's war strategy. And in southern Gaza, the UN says 360,000 people have now left as Israel expands its operations in Rafah. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
Sirens blared across Israel today as the country paused, marking its first Memorial Day since October 7th. One of the deadliest attacks that day was at the Nova Music Festival, where hundreds were killed and many others kidnapped. Today, friends and loved ones returned to remember the dead and those who were taken. But at official ceremonies, there were signs that Israel's wartime unity is cracking.
Zichram Baruch.
Protesters heckled officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his Minister of Defense, holding up signs that read, "There is blood on your hands." There is anger and frustration in Israel over the fate of the hostages still being held in Gaza and how this war is being carried out.
The hostages are not here. We are stuck in a war. We are led by a government that is inadequate.
In Gaza, there is renewed fighting in the north, with airstrikes and intense clashes between Israeli forces and Hamas militants, forcing people to flee again. We don't know where to go, this woman says. We have been displaced from one place to the next. In the south, Israel is pressing forward with its invasion of Rafah, despite objections from the United States. Over the weekend, the Secretary of State said the U.S. has not ruled out withholding more military support for Israel if it moves ahead with a major attack on Rafah, where more than 1 million people have fled since the fighting began.
We still believe would be a mistake to launch a major military operation into the heart of Rafah that would put huge numbers of civilians at risk without a clear strategic gain.
Today, the United States also said it does not believe a genocide is occurring in Gaza, though a State Department report released last week found Israel may have violated international humanitarian law. Omar.
All right, Heather, thank you. The conflict in the Middle East has also sparked fierce debate on Canadian university campuses. And today, McGill took its fight to dismantle an encampment to court. Here's CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin.
On McGill grounds today, little evidence of the legal fight playing out in court. The university pleaded for an injunction to dismantle the encampment on security, safety, and public health grounds.
And we have affidavits to show that this demonstration is completely peaceful. It's not permanent. We will not have a permanent encampment at McGill.
A few blocks away from McGill campus at Université du Québec à Montréal, or UQAM, another encampment went up this weekend.
We are students of conscience, and we will take a stand.
UQAM says it holds no investments in weapons manufacturers, a key demand of the encampment movement. But protesters say they want their university to cut all ties with Israeli academic institutions, a demand of many of the protesters at around a dozen encampments still standing in this country, including at the University of Toronto.
This is about holding accountable entire institutions.
But UQAM students say they also set up their tents in support of the McGill encampment in the face of the legal challenge.
And we are here to make this struggle larger in Montreal, in Canada.
Many here say if police do move in at McGill, protesters can come and join them here. Even if McGill is granted an injunction, Montreal's mayor warned today that a police crackdown may not be the solution.
I truly believe that Montreal is a peaceful, inclusive city. Dialogue is important, and I invite universities and the protesters to continue to discuss.
This is the second bid for an injunction to dismantle this encampment, the first to pop up across this country. Students here say no matter the court decision expected tomorrow, they will resist if police move in. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
Shocking video of accused serial killer Jeremy Skibitsky allegedly disposing of his victims' remains was shown in court today. And a warning, some of these images are disturbing. Security footage shows Skibitsky throwing what police say were parts of Morgan Harris's body into a dumpster. Similar footage shows him discarding the remains of another victim, Rebecca Comtois. Skibitsky has admitted to killing 4 women, but his lawyers claim he's not criminally responsible due to a mental illness. The criminal trial of a convoy leader who organized a major protest that paralyzed the Capitol in 2022 got underway today and is expected to last 3 weeks. CTV's Jackie Perez on day 1.
They were being tortured with sleep deprivation that you thought was hilarious.
Dressed in an all-black suit, Freedom Convoy organizer Pat King made his way to the courthouse for the first day of his criminal trial.
Go ahead, Pat. You go first.
King was part of the original group of organizers that brought big rig trucks and other vehicles to Ottawa in January 2022, protesting COVID-19 public health measures. For weeks, the smell of diesel fumes saturated the city's downtown core as massive crowds chanted freedom. And a chorus of air horns kept residents up at all hours, like Victoria de la Ronde, a legally blind woman who was the crowd's first witness. I could not hear the signals or the crossings. The vehicles were too loud, they were idling, or the honking was too loud. I could not be confident in my safety if I went out alone. Ahead of the Crown's opening statement, King pleaded not guilty to all 9 charges. That includes mischief, counseling others to commit mischief, and disobeying court orders. The Crown attorney says Mr. King presented himself as a leader. Through his social media and on the ground, he encouraged others to follow him to Ottawa and join him in the Freedom Convoy. This associate professor of criminology says while the Crown will develop a strong case around King's activities, they will also try to prove he was a major organizer of the larger and illegal protest.
Did he engage in mischief? Was he obstructing justice or intimidating people? When you're found guilty of counseling, it's the same as being found guilty of the crime itself.
The trial is set to last 3 weeks. It's expected the Crown will focus a significant chunk of the evidence around King's social media videos. Jackie Perez, CTV News, Ottawa.
A controlled explosion today to demolish part of the doomed Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. The massive steel span was blasted to pieces as crews attempt to clear the wreckage sitting atop the cargo ship that caused the bridge to collapse. Authorities say the move brings the busy port a step closer to fully reopening. The New Brunswick billionaire businessman who ran Canada's largest oil refinery has died. Arthur Irving joined his father's oil company in 1951 and helped grow it into a Canadian powerhouse and international player. He became president of the company in 1972 and was chairman emeritus when he died. Last year, Forbes magazine listed Irving among the top 10 richest Canadians with an estimated worth of $6.3 billion. He was 93 years old. Coming up, the silver lining in a fight against cancer. And the small step that could save your life. Plus, the historic display captured in Canada. A new snapshot is showing promising signs more Canadians are surviving certain types of cancers. It's also highlighting the critical need for more work in prevention and detection. Here's CTV's Sarah Plowman.
Every day, hundreds of Canadians hear the words, "You have cancer." Researchers predict more than 247,000 new cases this year, more than 88,000 deaths. Numbers are up because of a growing and aging population, but cancer rates are down.
The number going up is important because it means that more people are affected and it will require more resources. The rates are also important because it means that we're making some progress.
A new study published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal found that rates are dropping for lung, colorectal, and prostate cancers.
Colorectal cancer has had the largest decrease in incidence rate out of all the cancers, and this is because of organized colorectal screening programs.
Lung cancer is the most common and deadly, despite a drop in rates due to tobacco control and early detection. Less common cancers like liver, kidney, and non-Hodgkin lymphoma are expected to rise, and so is melanoma.
That's a concerning trend because we keep seeing increasing rates for a cancer that is highly preventable.
To experts, it all highlights the need for more family doctors and services to diagnose cancer.
For example, for skin cancer, there's no organized service. If someone has a spot that they're worried might be a melanoma, there's nowhere specific that they can go to get that looked at.
Breast cancer survivor Kathy Caulfield wants all provinces to screen for breast cancer at 40.
Until we find a cure for cancer, we need to help people find it early.
Researchers are pushing for more investments and awareness so Canadians can be up to date on their cancer screening. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
Still ahead, hopes of a breakthrough. The technology that could bring justice to a young victim. A woman whose husband was confronted by two young people and stabbed while out walking his dog in Edmonton spoke to CTV News today anonymously about the ordeal.
20 stabs in the back, 5 somehow in the front, and the boy was getting his head and face with the machete. He did damage 5 teeth. At some point he said he felt a blade in his mouth, so he bit down on it to keep them from slicing his face.
The 55-year-old victim needed a dozen stitches in his back and around 25 staples in his head. Police are still searching for the suspects. 2 years after pulling a baby's remains floating in Ontario's Grand River, police have now released 3D images and offered a $50,000 reward in hopes of identifying the girl. CTV's Jeff Pickle on the tech tool being used to crack the case.
It was late May 2022. A man fishing the Grand River in Dunnville makes a shocking discovery.
The Ontario Provincial Police, Haldimand County Detachment, attended a location in Dunnville after the body of a female child was found in the waters of the Grand River.
At the time, police say they only have an approximate age between 1 and 4, and it's unclear how long the body was in the water, but they say it had been there for some time. The community shocked and heartbroken, holding a candlelight vigil for the unknown victim.
And we come together here this evening in the spirit of love.
Police say despite exhaustive investigative efforts, there has been no breakthrough.
Nobody's reported this child missing.
that we're aware of. You know, children, as they travel through the day, they don't leave a trail. They don't leave cell phone records. They're not in stores. So trying to determine who this child is has been a real a challenge.
Today, police hope that will change. Through investigative genetic genealogy, they can begin to narrow the search. With the baby's remains and the genetic information, police now also have an idea of what the baby likely looked like.
We take a three-dimensional model of the child's skull, and we create what we believe the child looked like.
Police hopeful an image can spark a tip where other efforts have failed.
With the hopes that somebody at home will see this video and recognize the child and call us so that we can do our work and try and identify this child.
The OPP also offering a $50,000 reward for information that leads to the identification of the child. If you think you may know anything about the Grand River baby, please call OPP or Crime Stoppers to remain anonymous. Jeff Pickle, CTV News.
After the break, documenting history, looking back on a spectacular solar storm. A photographer's paradise played out over the weekend. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth caught up with some lucky enough to catch a glimpse and capture the wondrous display.
Billions of particles from the sun mixed with the Earth's magnetic field created a colorful and jaw-dropping aurora borealis, also known as the Northern Lights. Photographer Jason Dane spent the weekend in full storm chaser mode.
I was in southern Wyoming and I saw the aurora that lots of people got to see pretty well all over North America.
Late Friday night, Dane drove north, searching for clear skies, scouting the best view possible for solar flares and coronal mass ejections launched from the sun.
At about 11:30, the skies just went absolutely bonkers. The sky was pulsing with red color and green color.
Brad Perry's previous Northern Lights photography experiences featured faint images, mostly to the north. This solar event was different.
What happened on Friday was literally 360 degrees. It was right over your head.
Not only was this a massive geomagnetic storm, it was also a long storm. It started Friday night and for many people lasted into Sunday evening.
The peak of it was, of course, on Friday night with the big storm where most of the United States and Canada were able to see the colors in the sky.
Astronomy technician Tiffany Fields says the weekend light show blanketed large portions of the Western Hemisphere.
Individuals in the southern U.S. saw this storm.
According to Fields, because of minimal cloud cover and ideal atmospheric conditions, this was the most powerful and vivid Northern Lights display in Canada in decades. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
Just a stunning spectacle. That's a snapshot of this Monday for all of us at CTV National News. Thank you for watching. Good night, and see you tomorrow.